Hello everybody and welcome to Game Time with your favorite uncle. Today we will be checking out Subterrain. Overview. Subterrain is a top-down survival game where you wake up in a colony on Mars as a prisoner to find the whole colony filled with monsters. You have to survive long enough to make an escape, manage personal needs, gather resources, all while fighting various horrors that have occupied Mars. The game released in January 2016, being made and published by a company called Pixel Lore, who made its debut in the gaming world with Subterrain. They are working on a new game called Remy Lore that was set to release in April of 2019, but is still in development. Single player experience with controller support, the game has very positive reviews on Steam. Graphics and performance. Subterrain is an over-the-top game, so I was going into it not expecting anything too crazy. The game isn't pixely per se, but I would say it leans towards a semi-cartoon vibe. The game does a good job with detail, that you can tell objects apart and get a good feel for what things are with only a little bit of gameplay. The protagonists and monsters look decent, and movements are pretty fluid, with some pretty decent effects to complement all of that. The game is randomly generated, and after exploring for a while, the game definitely radiates the feeling. Most of the assets are reused over and over, and it kind of makes it feel like less handcrafted, but it offers lots in terms of replayability in that case. As far as performance goes, I kept a solid 60 frames during my playtime, but being an overtop game, most PCs should be able to run it. The minimum requirements are pretty low, but if you're worried, just check their Steam page to see for yourself. Overall, I gave graphics and performance a score of 6. Gameplay and story. Subterrain does a good job with its survival aspects, requiring you to take a lot of your basic needs into account, including oxygen and temperature, even your bodily functions, like pee-pee and poo-poo. These are great features that added to the realism/sim part of things, but all were really easy to manage. Every area I explored offered plenty of food and water, and even if I ran out, farming was automated, so I didn't really see myself running out of food. The game offers crafting as well, letting you craft things on the fly, but one thing that did bug me about it, as nice of a feature that is there was just a little bit too many steps to it. It was a little too complex for me to start figuring it out, but I guess if I spent more time, it just wasn't easy to pick up. I didn't like going into 4 different machines to try to build something. The combat was nothing crazy, being a top-down game. You mostly just shoot while walking backwards to avoid enemies. You use power as ammunition, so you really never have to use melee, but it's a nice option in a pinch. Where I think the game really shines is its exploration. I like how some of the areas are dark until you see them, and it's very sight-based, which is realistic and satisfying. I like entering a door and not knowing what to expect on the other side and trying to piece together what you're seeing. The game also offers a base defense function, as every once in a while your core will come under attack and you must defend it or risk losing some cores. Overall, the gameplay is a race against time as monsters mutate over time, getting stronger as you do, and making it dangerous to explore. The story of Subterrain is pretty simple and explained pretty quickly in the first couple moments, but you can find little tiny stories kind of like Fallout, or just little lore via like logs and different little like side quests on various computers and such. Overall, I got the feeling that the focus was more on gameplay than story, but the story was still enough to keep me interested in what was happening on Mars. Overall, I gave gameplay and story a score of 6. Music and sound. The music for Subterrain was very faint. You would only really hear it if you stood still and really listened for it. And from what I've heard, it was usually just the one dense, serious track. It wasn't bad per se, but it didn't really add anything to the experience. The sounds were pretty nice. The stepping on metal as you explored really set the lonely tone for the game. The other noises are exactly what I would expect them to be, with nothing really out of the normal. Overall, I would say they did a great job with sound, but wish the music had a more presence in the game. Overall, I gave music and sound a score of 7. Price, replayability, and length. Overall, I spent about 2 hours in the game before dropping it because I was just bored, because I knew it was going to start getting really grindy, and I didn't want to commit myself to the time it would take to beat the game. After looking at the time to beat being an average of about 48 hours, I knew I made the right choice. I have lots of games to play, and I don't see myself enjoying this game to its fullest for that amount of time. That being said, if this were a genre you liked and enjoyed the gameplay, the game offers a lot in terms of gameplay and replayability. With its randomly generated levels, lots to do. There's even a demo you can play to try the game out to see if you enjoy it or not. If you have fun playing the demo and you can see yourself investing time into the game, I definitely see the game being worth its price tag of $16.99. For me, I would wait for the game to go on sale for 50% at least before considering the purchase. But you might as well snag the game for 50 cents to $1 on G2A because that's a steal. Overall, I gave price, replayability, and length a score of 8.5. Overview. Subterrain is a decent looking over-the-top game with tons of features to explore. Most of the features feel unpolished, but overall functional and still allow you to enjoy the game. With randomly generated environments, the game offers lots of replayability if you find yourself wanting more after the long initial playthrough. Overall, I gave Subterrain a score of 33.5 out of 50. Suggestions. If you like this game, I would recommend giving these games a try. Darkwood. This is a game I picked up during the days of Greenlight and have only played a little bit since I'm a little scaredy cat, and it's technically a horror game, so I haven't really come back to it though. So the game offers very similar gameplay to Subterrain, being an over-the-top game with like simple physics system over the top kind of a thing. The only difference is that it takes place in a more of a horror setting out in the woods. Teleglitch. A more simplistic take on over-the-top shooter, this one taking a more roguelike approach as you try to take on randomly generated levels till you succeed. With permadeath, you will probably have to try a few times before you beat this one, but overall it's a fun experience. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope I can see you in the next one. Adios.